Hello, everybody! Welcome to the Link's Awakening Switch Any Percent Glitchless Tournament Winners Bracket Finals, Glan versus TGH. Here on commentary, we have M-Chan 3118, right?
338.
338.
Oh, no.
I already butchered it. I told you. So this was the last minute getting the stream up, so I hope everything goes smoothly. I will pop in and out. This is not a best of three. But I will be popping in and out and making sure. Otherwise, M-Chan, take it away.
All right, thank you. Yeah, like you said, welcome back to the Link's Awakening Switch tournament. It is 9 p.m. where I'm at, although to some other people it might be midnight. But here we are. We have an amazing race here for you guys tonight, as we have a fantastic matchup. We got Glan versus TGH, third place versus first place, with second seed versus first seed, and this is going to be... I'm expecting something really amazing out of these two players here. Glan has a time of 140 flat, whereas TGH has a time of 138.42. So I'm expecting a really good race here. And with that, I don't really have much else to say before the race begins. So hopefully the runners are readying up here. I guess while we're waiting for the runners to finish setting up here, the category is indeed any percent glitchless, which is beating the game using only the basic mechanics of the game as a whole. You're not going to be seeing any like frame perfect collision abuse, death abuse nonsense that if you're familiar with this game as a speedrun in general, then you won't be seeing any of that. So as a result, this category is a very approachable category for anybody who's interested in getting into this game as a speedrun. And it looks like both these runners are starting to get ready here, and they are indeed ready. So as soon as the race time countdown begins, we will be on a little bit of delay, but yeah.
We should have a countdown here soon because I just started the runners. So let's get hyped. Sorry, I've had too much caffeine. It's also midnight here, so this will be fun.
Yeah. Shoutouts to West Coast. It's currently 9 p.m.
Hey, that's where I'm originally from. I just got sick of that stuff called snow, so that's why I moved down south and east.
Okay. Alright, the runners are off. So something that if you're unfamiliar with this game, then you guys did not see something, and that is that they have a pre-made file that is manipulated, so that way they could know exactly what RNG seed that they're on in order to manipulate the Dungeon 4 puzzle as well as the egg puzzle at the very end. If you're familiar with LADX, normally in the speedruns of those versions, you don't really go to the puzzle room in Dungeon 4, and also the egg puzzle is set. Like, there's only one possible egg puzzle for the Game Boy speedruns. But here they kind of changed it a bit, so they have to, but conveniently with RNG manipulation, they know exactly what their puzzle's going to be. But anyway, off to the beginning here. They wake up from Marin's house, and they go to the beach to pick up their sword right here. TGH had a little bit of unfortunate luck on his way to the sword, so Glan already has a minor lead right off the bat. But it's still early on. And now they're going to be on their way to the forest here. So anybody who's familiar with the original Link's Awakening speedruns both on Game Boy and Game Boy Color, get ready to throw all your knowledge from those games away, because none of those apply to this version of the speedrun.
Yeah, I started on the original Link's Awakening on the Game Boy, and yeah, once I've seen one of these runs, I had completely changed my thought process.
Yeah, this version runs on a completely different engine, which as a result, none of the tricks that were once possible, they don't work the same way. There are somewhat similar tricks, but they work very differently from each other.
So, quick question: I notice our runners are running in German. Is that optional, or is that just the fastest language?
So, German happens to have the fewest amount of text boxes out of all the languages that you could switch to on your Nintendo Switch, and so that's why they are playing on German. And over the course of the run, you save about 40 seconds.
Good to know. It seems like each Zelda game has its own language that's fastest. Like, over in Breath of the Wild, we have French, and MMR, we have OOTR, we have Japanese.
Yeah, most of the time, Japanese text is usually fastest, just because, like, in some Zelda games, the text scrolls, but because text goes by boxes, Japanese doesn't really save time in this game. However, and it just so happens that German just has the fewest amount of text boxes. So anyway, normally in Game Boy speedruns, they would do a trick called moblin boosting, where you would use a moblin to damage boost across a pit, but that doesn't work, so they have to do this entire force sequence the intentional way, pretty much, or at least most of what you're going to be seeing is basically intentional. As we can see here, TGH is not off to a good start right now. He's getting kind of trolled by some of these enemies. The enemy patterns work much differently in this version, as most of these enemies are very aggressive. A lot of the time, whenever an enemy notices Link, they'll kind of just charge straight at Link and give you some unfavorable patterns sometimes. So it's a deceptively tough section early on in the game here. We're seeing two different boosts from that shield moblin there. Glan opted to do a damage boost, whereas TGH opted to clink off of the shield guy in order to gain a bit of a boost right there. One of those minor things that Glitchless comes down to, since Glitchless is a pure execution-based category. So you want to be able to save as much time as you can in this run. So they both got their first dungeon key, with Glan having a bit of a slight lead here. And now they are going to make both of them making their way to the first dungeon. But before they do that, there's a bit of some things that they're going to go ahead and get out of the way first. That way they don't have to worry about it later. So they got the 50 rupees in the log cave earlier, and they're going to use that money to pick up a few things here. So they're going to go back into Mabe Village, and they go to the bottom here to the trendy game. And the trendy game has changed in this version, where the trendy game, it goes by actual crane game physics in real life. So this is like deceptively difficult. It's like both these runners are about to make this look really easy, but there's always the off chance. Oh no! So TGH is so this is what happens here sometimes on TGH's screen. Sometimes you can just do everything right, but then you just don't get the Yoshi Belt anyway. So that is, unfortunately, a rough 20-second time loss right there. Normally, if you're doing a PB attempt, then that is immediately a reset, but because it's a race, you just have to deal with it, which, in the level of caliber that these two players are on, this is gonna seriously hurt for TGH. But again, it's still early on in the run, so there will be plenty of opportunities later on where he can make that time up. So now begins the trading quests. Now that they got the Yoshi doll from the trendy game, they went up to the family up on the top to trade the Yoshi doll for a bow, and then they gave the bow to Chow Chow in the doghouse for some dog food. And the dog food is going to be traded for something else later on, and they can do it now, but it's a little bit too far out of the way, so they're going to wait until after they beat the first dungeon. Meanwhile, they are on their way to the first dungeon right here. So they unlocked the first dungeon using the tail key that they got from the forest, and now they are on their way to the first dungeon.
And if I remember right, the first dungeon has the feather in it.
Yes, that is correct. And the feather is a very important item because it allows you to do the most important mechanic in any video game, and that is to jump. So previously, in the original version, the feather allows you to do some really cool tricks, but due to how this version of the game works, you can't really, most of those tricks don't really work the same way. And then they also kind of nerfed most of the items in this game, with the feather being one of them. Normally, like, when you jump, you're just jumping, but in this version, the feather, when you jump with the feather, Link kind of lands on his feet, which makes it really slow for you to just keep jumping randomly, like you would see sometimes in the Game Boy versions. So if they don't need to jump, they're not going to jump. Alright, so we saw a really cool strat for Glan, where he shield bumped one of the Spinies into the pit earlier. Let's see what TGH's approach is. He's going to probably do something very similar. Yep, there we go. And this is going to allow them to save a kill. What they're doing throughout this run is they're actually keeping track of how many enemies that they kill, because in this version, or in this game, there are two power-ups exclusive to Link's Awakening, known as Piece of Power and Guardian Acorn. Guardian Acorn is not something that they're going to worry about at all, because it's a power-up that drops if you kill a certain amount of enemies without getting hit. And all it does is increase your defense for like temporary, and so they don't want the extra defense. The other power-up is Piece of Power, and to get Piece of Power, it is I believe it's 32 enemies plus however many hearts that you have. So as you can see here, they both have 3 hearts right now, and 32 kills plus however many hearts they have means that they would want to have 35 kills. And the Piece of Power allows them to do extra damage to enemies, on top of having a slight speed boost. So there are 2 parts, sometimes 3, where they will be keeping track of their kills to make sure that the Piece of Power spawns at the spot that they want it to drop at. And that's important because Piece of Power only lasts for I think 30 seconds. It's not that long compared to the original version, where it only takes 3 hits to get rid of the power-up. Also, in this version, your kill count is accumulated throughout the entire game, whereas in the original version, your kill count is only kept track until you die or reset the game.
Very common boss in all the Zelda games, Moldor.
Yeah, so Moldorm, he's a hamburger in this game. He's the worst kind of hamburger. It's just lettuce and nothing else. But yeah, Moldorm is just like how you fight Moldorm in pretty much most other Zelda games. You hit Moldorm from the behind. It takes 4 hits or 2 spin slashes to beat Moldorm. What can sometimes happen in this fight is you can get a pretty unfortunate pattern from Moldorm, which would cause you to fall into a pit. And if you fall into a pit, then you gotta re-enter the room again, and then his health is reset, which is a pretty big time loss that you don't want to have this early on. So both these runners having pretty clean Dungeon 1s here with TGH. It seemed like TGH made up a little bit of time. It's kind of hard to tell, but again, it's still pretty early on, so there will still be more opportunities for TGH to catch up here. Also, when you mentioned German text earlier, these white text boxes that you see here, in every other language, there will be 2 white text boxes, whereas in German, it's only 1 for after every dungeon. It's a pretty big time save for the dungeons, especially.
Oh, definitely, and then we're coming down here to turn in the dog food.
Yeah, so this is where they're going to get the bananas now.
He always needed a little more extra iron in his diet, right? I just continue to notice that he ate the can whole.
Yeah. I don't know. His teeth seems to be fine though, even after eating that. All right, so now they're going to be making their way back to the village here. Now that they have completed the first dungeon, and then what's this? The kids are in a panic here.
Oh no! They stole the dog. Chain jump.
Yeah, so a group of moblins came into Moblin Village while we were in Dungeon 1, and they stole Bow Wow, and now we have to go back and around and save Bow Wow. There is a way where you can actually skip the sequence, but that is considered a glitch, so we're going to be saving Bow Wow.
Is it worth to note that they're actually skipping heart pieces and stuff?
Yeah, so they will be skipping heart pieces. In dungeons, you do have the option to skip heart containers as well, which does save time, but it does make but the more heart containers that you skip, the riskier your run gets because you'll have very few amount of hearts. For these guys, I imagine both Glan and TGH are going to be getting only 2 heart containers. They just got 1 from Tail Cave, and I can imagine that they're going to only be needing 1 more heart container, unless they might get a 6th one depending on how much health they have at the end of their very last dungeon, but that's very situational. Both these runners missing the 1 cycle on the Moblin King here. You can actually get a 1 cycle here if you rhythmatically time your slashes precisely. But unfortunately, neither of these runners got it, so they have to settle in for a 2 cycle. So it's gonna I mean, I guess that's nice for fortunate for both of them to miss the 1 cycle to kind of keep it somewhat even. But that was the time save that TGH really needed in order to catch back up to Glan.
I also noticed that they saved and exited to get out of the place quicker.
Yeah, so what that is the game autosaves, and when the game autosaves, it saves into a whole different file that they could load the game off of, and this saves time from backtracking. And this is really useful for dungeons and caves. Whenever you auto-load in a dungeon or a cave, then it takes you back to the very beginning of the dungeon/cave, whereas if you do that in an overworld, it just takes you back to wherever the game auto-saved you.
Sorry for the 10 million questions.
No, you're fine. You're fine. This is good insight. So now they're both into Dungeon 2. They do need Bow Wow to eat those flowers in order to enter the dungeon. Bow Wow can sometimes take his time. It was a lot worse in the original versions, but in this version, Bow Wow eats very quickly. So very rarely you'll have moments where Bow Wow takes quite a bit of time to eat the flowers.
And
but now here they are in.
You get the power
dungeon.
bracelet, right?
Yeah, the power bracelet is the item of this dungeon, which allows them to carry a bunch of things. Which will vastly open up the overworld of this game once they are done with this dungeon. In the glitch categories, Dungeon 2 is a very notorious dungeon because there is a mini-boss that Glan is coming up to called the Hinox. And there is a very difficult trick that you can do with the Hinox that allows you to skip the rest of this dungeon. But fortunately for these guys, with how difficult that trick is, they don't have to worry about it because it's glitchless. Unfortunate spot for the key there for Glan, causing him to fall in the pit there.
Oh, we gives TGH a little time to recover.
Yeah, just a little bit. So both of them having really good Hinox fights right there. That can sometimes be... Hinox can sometimes be kind of a tough mini-boss. If you miss one of your slashes, then the Hinox can actually grab you and cause you to lose about 5 or 6 seconds in the fight.
Glan has his power bracelet, so it can go to town on those pots.
Yeah. Glan strategically using his shield to shield himself against those red Zols, that way he doesn't get grabbed by them. And now this is what's arguably the worst room in the game. In this room specifically, you have to fight the enemies in a very specific order. It is the Pulse Voice, the Keese, and the Stalfos, all in that order. And if you accidentally kill the wrong enemy in the wrong order, then you have to reset the room, and it is a very big time loss. Fortunately...
Yeah. I remember as a kid, that room was the one that threw me off so much, because I had no clue what a Pulse Voice was.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is canonically their name. Otherwise, they're rabbits.
Didn't they just call them rabbits? Yeah.
Yeah, they're rabbits. So, fortunately, neither player had to suffer through the worst room of the game, so they're out of there just fine. Looks like TGH got Piece of Power here. I actually don't know what he is using Piece of Power, what he used Piece of Power there for, since if he were to get Piece of Power this early in the game, it would be for Hinox, but he got that after the Hinox fight, so I'm not actually sure why I picked that up.
We have our good old genie here.
Yeah, so this is the genie fight. There is absolutely nothing to talk about in this fight. So, Cemetery, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing peachy. I had a long day at work, took a nice little nap, and then realized, oh, crap, we have a we have a commentator for the LAS finals, so I should get that restreaming.
Yeah, I had when I found out that I had to do commentary for this race, I had literally just got done streaming, so it was pretty convenient timing. I guess you could say that I finished streaming right when I was needed for this race. Otherwise, y'all would have probably missed out on the race of the century here with you know, these are like 2 of the top 3 runners of the game here.
Yes. So over here in ZSR, if we do not have commentators, we really don't restream. So I am glad you stepped up so we could restream this amazing race. Okay, these clowns or these genies are making me dizzy.
Yeah, so here in the second phase, there is something to talk about here in the second phase. So the genie will now clone himself once you break his pot open against the wall, and now they have to guess which one's the real genie, which is really easy to figure out. It's the one furthest away from the center, and as soon as the genie appears, you just do a bunch of slashes on him, and that's pretty much a fight, just like that. So pretty good genie fights for both of them right there. There's a slight bit of randomness for how long it takes for the genie to appear, but it's fairly negligible. Alright, so we're seeing two different approaches at the end of this dungeon here. Glan opting to pick up the Dungeon 2 heart container, whereas TGH is attempting to save time over Glan by foregoing this heart container. We'll see if that pays off for TGH. He is going to have one less heart for Glan in this next part of the game, which, in the grand scheme of things, it's not, you're not super likely to die in this part, in this next segment, but we'll see if that pays off for him at the very end of the run.
So that is one thing that got changed from the Link's Awakening for the Game Boy to the Switch, is you now have more portals where you can warp to, because they're not in this huge pyramid type thing you walk into.
Yeah, so there are only like 4 warp portals in the original version. In this version, there are significantly more warps, and in the original version, you could only warp in order of like a rotation. But in this version, you have the option to warp wherever you want using any warp portal. So this is a very nice quality of life, and then also the fact that they added more warp portals in this version makes transportation really useful, especially later on the run. So you'll be seeing that. So now that they returned Bow Wow to Madame Meow Meow, and now they're going to do some shopping here. They're going to go ahead and first off start by buying 3 sets of bombs, which will bring them up to a maximum of 30 bombs. And then they're going to go ahead and grab the shovel. It's only 200 rupees. They don't have 200 rupees, but wait, what are you doing, Glan?
Oh, thief! And zap.
Oh, he's not happy.
No, he is not. This is going to be a very shocking experience.
So that's going to give TGH a chance to... Oh, wait, what's TGH doing? He's also doing this, too.
No, not TGH! No, don't go back in!
Fortunately, the shopkeeper, for some reason, allows them to keep the item that they steal anyway. Otherwise, otherwise, there would absolutely be no point in stealing if that wasn't the case.
Their name is now Thief, by the way.
Yeah, it changes their name to Thief. I don't know what it is in German, but yeah. So they stole 2 of the most expensive items of the game: the shovel and the bow. Otherwise, they would have to go out of their way to get like 1,000 rupees, which would be a lot. And having the shovel and bow now, it will allow them to do some pretty cool strats. Also, something to note is that because TGH skipped that heart container, he's able to actually save just a little bit of time over Glan from that death animation. Because the more hearts that you have, the more time that you have to sit through for the shopkeeper just slowly electrocute your health down.
So I just learned that thief in German is Dieb.
Dieb, okay, thank you.
And this is the point of the bananas! We need that bridge.
Yeah. So this is the point where you realize the trade sequence is required. So if you haven't done the trade sequence up until now, then you probably just lose a lot of time. So they got the stick now, and the monkey is built to bridge to go to Canterlot Castle. They haven't done this, but there's a side quest that you trigger by going to Cuckoo Prairie, talking to a guy named Richard, and he's going to say that his castle, the Canterlot Castle, he got abandoned, and he left his leaves behind. They're so precious to him, and he wants us to go in his stead to find the golden leaves, because for some reason he can't do it by himself. Now, it's actually worth noting, it looks like TGH did catch up, but something that he that made him catch up is that he actually didn't do what Glan did earlier, and that is to activate the Seashell Warp by the Seashell Mansion. So that means TGH is going to have to do that later, after Dungeon 3. Now, there's a bit of a small time difference, but over the course of the race, it's not super significant.
Look, can we talk about bomb arrows? Because those things are so cool.
yeah, exactly. So, it was originally a hidden mechanic in the original version, but if you equip bombs and arrows at the same time and use them at the same time, then you get this like really cool effect where the bomb is on the pointy part of the arrow, which creates bomb arrows. It's a really cool power up, and they use those as substitute for regular bombs, because most of the time you'd be waiting for the bomb animation to explode. But it's also used for... It can also be used for, as you can see here, they're making quick work of some enemies here. But they also want to be careful because exclusive to this version, explosives can actually hurt you. So they want to be very careful. And explosives hurt in this game. When you blow yourself up with your own bomb, you take 2 hearts of damage. It hurts. Yes, exactly. In response to the chat, yes, if you have the physical version of this game, which they're both playing on the digital release right now, but if you look at the back of the box cover, they actually tell you about bomb arrows. So they knew about that bomb arrows exist, so as a result, it's not a glitch, it's allowed, completely intended. Okay, and with that, Glan now just got his 5th golden leaf. TGH will be doing the same very shortly after. This guy right here can sometimes be a troll, where he can yeah, like what happened there with TGH right there. He can like if he's not attempting to throw a bomb, then he will fake you out very quickly like that, which causes you to waste a bomb arrow. Bomb management is not so much of a big deal, but it's more so your arrow management that's a very big deal throughout this run. Your arrow management's super tight, because you want to be able to keep as many arrows as you can in order to, well, have arrows for some very fast strats throughout the run. So, they're both going to turn in their leaves to Richard here. As you can see here, you can actually it's better to activate the trade sequence or to activate the Candle Castle quest now and then turn in the leaves, rather than just activating the Candle Castle quest and then go to Candle Castle and then go back. So here they are in Pothole Field. It's full of potholes. I don't know why Richard has a backyard full of pits. I don't know how he survives, does his gardening without falling into a pit.
Just like TGH accidentally did.
Yeah. One interesting thing about this game's drop rate, as you can see, every time TGH is out, he's been at 1 heart a few times, and he's immediately been able to gain health back, and that has to do with the drop rate that this version runs off of. Whenever you're low on hearts, then you'll have a very likely chance of spawning heart drops whenever you either kill enemies or cut down a bunch of grass. So TGH is able to gain his health very quickly, even with him being at 1 heart earlier.
So which which dungeon is this one?
So this is Key Cavern, and Key Cavern is probably the first somewhat difficult dungeon to do pretty well in. The first hard part here is this room that Glan was on. He just had a really nice execution with defeating all those enemies. But the gimmick behind Key Cavern is that there are a lot of keys, and you're supposed to use all those keys. But if you know the fastest way through this dungeon, then you can skip quite a bit of those keys. in the glitch categories, you could skip a lot of keys, but they're going to be getting about 5 keys. Otherwise, there's a lot more than 5 keys in this dungeon when you're doing it normally.
Hence it's so aptly named Key Cavern.
So, one thing that you'll see these runners do is that if you know what exactly your kill count is on, and you know that a Guardian Acorn is going to spawn at a very inconvenient spot, then you'll sometimes see either of these runners taking intentional damage just so they could prevent a Guardian Acorn from spawning at a very inconvenient spot. As the Guardian Acorn, as I mentioned earlier, only spawns whenever you kill a certain amount of enemies without getting hit. TGH having a little bit of trouble here with trying to blow up this wall. You don't need to blow up now because you have no reason to go in there right now, but he's doing that in order to save a menu. Menuing is just like an LADX, somewhat of a big deal. It's not as excessive as in the original version, where you just like in the original version, you do you do work with 2 items, but due to how the equipment works in this game, it's not as extraneous. But he is trying. But because it is glitchless and you're trying to save as much time as you can, you do want to minimize the amount of pausing. So something I did, but real quick, I did talk over both of them fighting the Dodongo Snake, and the Dodongo Snake is kind of an atrocious boss in this dungeon, as you do have to feed bombs to the Dodongo Snakes, and there is a glitch in the original version where if you kill one of them and leave the room, then both of them are considered dead. But that doesn't work in this version at all, so they had to defeat both of them this time around. In the original version, there was a way where you can cheese the fight, but that doesn't really work the same way. So they have to, which is why you saw them waiting around before placing a bomb in their mouth. Alright, so Glan's taking a bit of a detour here to open up this chest right here, which is going to contain a gold rupee, which is worth 300 rupees, and this is all the rupees that both these runners are going to need for the rest of the game. So now taking another slight detour to grab this key right here.
They did pick up the Pegasus boots, which allows them to run fast.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right. Thank you, yeah, so the item of the dungeon is the Pegasus boots, which allows them to dash, and dashing is kind of, I guess you can say, kind of somewhat similar to Minish Cap, where you can actually strafe your dashes here. So they are strategically planning out their dashes. That way they can get some optimal movement wherever they can. So this is the point of the run where the run gets a bit faster pace for these guys here. Now, because of the setup animation for to charge up your dash, it is sometimes not worth dashing all the time. I believe the rule of thumb is if you're about maybe 4.5 tiles away from your designated location, then that's when it's worth dashing. So now Glan is now fighting Slime Eye, or Gigazole in this version.
Fun to know that TGH is showing our good friend Petey Piranha. Good old Mario crossovers.
Yeah, in Link's Awakening, there are all these crossovers from Mario games, and you'll even sometimes see later on there's even a Kirby later, and that's because this was supposed to be a remake of A Link to the Past, but then someone from Nintendo saw this game being made and was like, let's make this an actual Zelda game.
Yeah, we already had our Yoshi doll, so that was our first reference.
Yeah. Well, our first reference was technically Bow Wow, as we walk by him, but yeah.
True. But we have Bow Wow, Chain Chomp, Piranha, Womps.
Mm-hmm.
Kirby.
Alright, so both of them having really well-executed Slime-Eye fights. Glan did pick up the heart container from this dungeon, so did TGH. In the most ideal situation, this would be your last heart container. So they are going to be working with 5 hearts, or in Glan's case, 6 hearts. Again, picking up any other extra heart container only loses about a few seconds each time, but in the long run could pay off due to the fact that you would have more health. So in Glan's situation, he'll be working with 1 extra heart than TGH in some of the more difficult sections. So whenever he gets to those parts, it could pay off for him. I'm sure
Animal Village now.
Yeah, Animal Village. This is, in my opinion, like when I played when I played this game for the very first time on the original version, this was like one of my favorite areas. Just mainly because I really like the music. But you don't really hear it very much, just due to how little time you spend in Animal Village. So as you can see right here now.
Yeah. I was gonna say that Walrus tells us we need. He's still asleep, so we have to go find Marin to wake him up.
Yeah, that's a new thing that they add in this version. Normally, you're supposed to do a couple more extra steps in the trade sequence by going to Terran, who'll be around the prairie, and he'll get chased by bees. You get the honeycomb, and then you go to Animal Village, and you deliver the honeycomb to Chef Bear. But in this version, they add another check for Marin to spawn on the beach, and that is to talk to a walrus. So they're able to skip a couple steps in this trade sequence that way. So, spoilers, they're not going to be doing any more of the trade sequence, and you're going to wonder how are they going to accomplish the rest of the game without doing the rest of the trade sequence. Well, you'll see. Anyway, you'll see that the separation between Glan and TGH has widened again, and that's because TGH now has went back to the Seashell Mansion to activate the warp. So what originally looked like a somewhat close race now is widened. So the time difference that you see between TGH and Glan right now is exactly what you see.
Link being nice and all, and making the bed once he gets out of it after he goes to the Dream World to pick up the ocarina.
Yeah, what a nice guy. Doing whoever lives in the Dream Shrine a favor. So here's Marin at the beach. This is the best part of the game. So you get to go on a date with Marin here. Enjoy the nice sunset here. Did you know that the seagulls flying around here are completely random each time?
Very cool. I might have to play through it multiple times just to get there, so I can see the various randomness.
It's great. It's something that every runner likes to point out in this cutscene.
I do want to point out, though, that Glan was mean to the Kuko, where TGH did not stab the Kuko on his way to the beach.
Yeah, not very nice for Glan to do that. Might have to call PETA on him. So Marin wishes to be a seagull, but her wish is not going to come true for either of these runners because both these runners did die once. So I'm sorry to anyone who is looking forward to a glitchless true ending run.
And then we pick up Marin, literally.
Yeah.
Who knew she could jump like we do? I mean, that's unreal.
And she's really fast, too.
So the true ending is Marin becoming a seagull because he did not take a single death. Correct?
She's also Jesus? I don't know about the Jesus part. Alright, so unfortunately our day has to come to a very short end. And we have Marin sing to the walrus here. and this is where our date ends. And that way, these guys can head to Yarna Desert to pick up their next dungeon key. And something to note is, if you're familiar with any glitches in this game, there is a way to skip this entire sequence. But well, those are glitches. We don't do those.
Hey, anyone familiar with Link to the Past?
Very nice fight there for Glan right there. That's a lot harder than he made that look right there. We'll see how if TGH can match that, which would be kind of a lot to ask for, because Landmola here is somewhat random, as there are times where Landmola will just say nope, you're not getting a one cycle, and we'll do a short hop sometimes.
Landmola, aka the second boss in Link to the Past.
Yep. So we'll see how this fight goes for TGH here. Oh,
one hit away.
Right yeah. Yeah. So he was attempting to use the explosion range from the bomb arrows in an attempt to get Landmola while his head was sinking to the ground, which didn't quite work out for him.
But we get our fish key.
Yeah, so now they got the angler key, and Glan is about to learn the first of 3 songs that they're going to be getting here with the Ocarina, and that is the Ballad of the Windfish.
It's kind of crucial for beating the game, you know?
Yeah, very crucial. It used to not be, but now it is.
I mean, we do have to wake up the Windfish, as much as Marin and them would prefer us not to.
Yeah.
So they could continue existing, but... Oh, spoilers.
Wow, I've never seen this game before.
I know,
okay,
right?
So Glan is he's going balls, and he's gonna go for this. Oh my god, he gets that first try. That's a lot harder than he made that look. That's that's a recent minor route change to get to the Angler Key lock right there. And that is to warp to the Seashell Mansion and do a very, very precise dash jump from the Candlelit Bridge all the way up to Tall Tall Mountain. That is a very bold thing for Glan to do, especially in a race. He is really keeping TGH on his toes here. Let's see if TGH is opting to go for the normal approach, which is much easier. You have no chance of making a mistake with the route that TGH is doing, but a couple seconds slower, especially given that Glan got it very cleanly first try.
I noticed there's some green apples on these trees.
Yeah, so apples in this game generally just heal hearts, but you don't want to pick them up because there's a text box whenever you pick up apples.
Is it random which ones are green, though?
I'm not actually sure, to be honest, because we never really pick up apples for any reason.
I just noticed random oblivious things. So.
Yeah.
It's what happens when you restream and commentate too many matches.
Alright, so now Glan is into Angler Tunnel, which, in early speedruns used to be very unexciting, but now we have a trick known as the bomb jump that Glan will be doing shortly after he gets these first 2 keys here.
And it's here in this dungeon we purposely have that other file save set up, so we can manipulate RNG on a puzzle.
Yeah, so they're not going to be... So the purpose of the RNG manipulation is not going to appear now, but it would. But later on, spoilers, they're gonna have to do this dungeon a second time. But that's when you'll be seeing the RNG manipulation payoff here.
You mean we're not finishing this dungeon?
Oh yeah. So there's a particular reason for that. But first, let's see this here. A little bit too far away, but let's see if this works. It does work. Nice, first try. It's time for TGH to match that. So let's see how this works for TGH here. So that's the bomb jump. If by placing the bomb at a very precise spot and then doing a precisely timed dash, then you can actually have the bomb recoil you over to the other side of that cross jump and that saves a handful of time in this dungeon because it allows you to skip 2 keys. Sometimes it's a very controversial trick because some people who are not really familiar with this game will probably go in the chat, "What are they doing? This is glitchless."
And there we have the flippers! Woohoo!
So Glan did fight what's arguably the worst boss in the game, Cue Ball. Out of all the bosses that they had to change, they really changed up the Cue Ball fights, as Cue Ball has a very unfavorable hitbox whenever you slash him from behind. So we'll see how this goes for TGH here.
And Glan getting a talking to the sunfish.
Yeah, so Glan is now getting Mambo's Mambo. The next song. Oh, this fight going a little bit offhand for TGH here. Not looking good for TGH. Okay, there we go. Not bad. Yeah, sometimes if you mess up the fight, it can go really badly. Foregoing the fairy, which is kind of a bold move here, especially given that this next segment here is a little bit risky with just 2 hearts. But I guess that depends on which route TGH decides to take, because there's actually 2 different routes that you can take from here. Which we'll see which route both these runners go to. I'll explain both these routes if we see a route divergence.
So Mumbo's Mambo allows us to be able to warp without having to be on a warp panel.
Yeah. So originally you can only warp to Mumbo's Mambo, or if you use it in a dungeon, it takes you to the very beginning of the dungeon. But in this version, you can warp in any warp portal, so it makes transportation in this game very, very powerful. Which, as a result, even if it was possible to skip the Ocarina, it would not be worth it. Just due to the fact that Mambo's Mambo is just so powerful in this game. But yeah, both these runners did leave Dungeon 4. They will be back later, because it is required. But the reason that they're not finishing Dungeon 4 right now is because if you finish Dungeon 4, then that actually activates the Ghost Quest, which is mandatory if you happen to trigger the Ghost. There's no benefit into doing the Ghost Quest now, or into doing the Ghost Quest at all in this run. So they're trying to avoid the Ghost Quest whenever, if they can, and that is to just do Dungeon 4 last. Okay, so both these runners are going to be taking the same routes. You can just go straight to Dungeon 5 if you'd like, but it takes about the same amount of time. The disadvantage for doing this part that Glan's doing later is that there will be a rabbit in the way of your dash whenever you go back to Animal Village.
This being my least favorite boss in this whole damn game.
Armos Knights, yeah. It takes 4 hits this time, or at least 2 spin slashes and 2 arrows, the way that both these runners are going to be doing. So this is going to be really risky for TGH, because if TGH gets hit by any of these Armos statues, he's dead. These Armos statues do 2 hearts of damage. This is a very bold move for TGH to skip over that fairy from fighting Cue Ball. But let's see how this he's doing pretty well. I'm a little worried for him, but I'm sure he knows what he's doing.
One more night to get past. Oh, and he gets hit.
Oh, that's a death for TGH. That's kind of the risk that you take. You know, you do take a bit of time to grab that fairy from Cue Ball. But in the long run, but this is actually this could work out for TGH though, because that's not that big of a time loss, as he is actually back to where he pretty much died, just like that. But it's still kind of bad, because that does mean that his kill count is going to be a little bit off here, because he does want to have a piece of power for the boss of this next dungeon that Glan is on right now, and that is Catfish Maw. Yeah, so they did get the Dungeon 6 key, which they're not going to be... They can't do Dungeon 6 right now, but they're getting that out of the way early. Again, it doesn't... There's no difference in time getting the Angler key before Dungeon 5 or after. It's just one slight disadvantage for doing it after, but it's really negligible. Yeah, so this is Dungeon 5. It's a very difficult dungeon to optimize. There's a lot of enemies. There's a lot of rooms where you have to fight enemies, and sometimes the enemy patterns can be very erratic to where you can lose little bits of time that could seriously add up. And then on top of that, the very end of the dungeon has a boss that's like RNG. Just the way we like this game.
You didn't beat me? I'm going... Come find me again.
So this is Master Stalfos. They're going to be going around the dungeon to fight him 4 times. They do have to fight... Master Stalfos does appear in the rooms that he appears in, all in order, so you can't just go in any order and fight Master Stalfos. So they're going to be chasing him around. He stole the hookshot, which is what that chest contained that Glan skipped over. So we just have to get the hookshot from him. In this version, he takes 3 bombs to beat per each time that you fight him, whereas in the original version, it was 3 hits for the first and 4th time, and 2 bombs for the 2nd and 3rd time.
So it made him a little more time-consuming.
Yeah. You can actually, like, cheese the fight by just throwing bomb arrows at him in the original version, but that doesn't work in this.
No, but our runners know where he's going to collapse, and so we just drop a bomb ahead of time.
Yeah. You do have to wait for the bomb to explode, so it is worth placing a bomb early, and then whenever you slash him, the bomb will explode on him.
Fun fact, too, if you can notice the blue tiles, so you know what room he has to be in for that order.
Yeah. So he is auto-loading. So Glan's now auto-loading back to the very beginning of the dungeon, as he does need to backtrack to head over to the room where he got his first key, because that's where the 4th Master Stalfos fight will appear at. And after that, he'll be getting the hookshot. So Glan does have a pretty comfortable lead over TGH right now, but the rest of the game does get very hard, especially with the risk versus reward that these guys are playing at. With Glan probably very likely work with 6 hearts, whereas TGH going with 5, and we've seen what happened from him earlier, where he did die with just only 2 hearts, and that's kind of the risk that you take.
Yeah, but as a runner, you do know that any dungeon can be just too trolly at one point and cause you a death.
Yeah.
I've seen a conversation over in your guys' chat about the game bullying you. In one of your previous races, I think.
Yeah. The last race that I did, I was on a very big PB pace until I died at the very end of the game.
Oh, here's some more Mario references.
Yeah, we got bloopers. We've seen Goombas earlier, but yeah, so we have bloopers now. So previously, there was a very well-known trick called the dumb jump, where it's like a very precise dash jump to get across this giant pit, but they widen the pit, so the trick doesn't really work that way. So they have to use the hookshot there. Otherwise, they definitely would have gotten the boss key much earlier.
And TGH gonna get his hookshot here now.
So now Glan's on his way to the boss now that he got his nightmare key.
Oh yeah, the Anglerfish. One of the easiest bosses in the whole game.
Oh, that's actually the 4th dungeon boss.
Oh, the Anglerfish is 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. See how long it's been since I played this one? Who's the boss here in
It's slime eel. Okay, so that looked a little strange to some people unfamiliar with this, but that is what's known as skewing, and that is that if you adjust your angle in midair while you're jumping, then Link will turn into a direction that's outside of your 8 directions that you move at. That's how he was able to do that particular trick, and that saves a key. Just a little bit of time right there.
This boss, where you have to grab him with the hook shot, pull him out of the wall, and slash away at his special spot.
Yeah, so Glan made that look really easy, and that's because he has Piece of Power. Without Piece of Power, this fight can sometimes be pretty bad, as normally it takes 16 hits to beat him, but with Piece of Power, he's able to beat him in 8 and also get a 1 cycle. You cannot 1 cycle that boss without Piece of Power. So one of the parts in the game where Piece of Power saves a very significant amount of time, if you can manage to get Piece of Power over to the boss fight, that is. Now, I actually don't know where TGH is on his kill count. Okay, he got Piece of Power now, so he's able to hopefully get a 1 cycle. It is also random sometimes whether you get the 1 cycle. Oh no, having a little bit of issue with the skew angle, having to readjust here. He can make it to the boss on time, but whether he has the opportunity, he can keep it by the time he has the opportunity to hit Slime Eel is gonna be the question now.
Now we're gonna head. Glan's gonna head over to the 6th dungeon.
Yeah, so he's already gotten his dungeon 6 key, the face key, and now he's just going to go straight to the face shrine. This is called Node Cave or Zorlax Jump, because it's a community joke for the original version of the game. Shouts to both Zorlax 7 and
TGH gonna have to go for more than 1 cycle.
Oh yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. He did get quite a bit of damage in, so he should be able to do that. Having to go for a 3rd cycle. This is
takes a death.
Oh, that's a huge time loss for TGH right there. Oh, that actually really hurts. Because now he has to go all the way to back to the boss, and also he's not going to have Piece of Power for Slime Eel, so this is going to be a very unfortunate situation for TGH here. Meanwhile, Glan is now on his way to Face Shrine, which is the longest dungeon of the run here. Just due to the fact that there's when you take away all the tricks that you could do, this becomes a very long dungeon. And on top of that, this dungeon is very difficult to optimize. I'd say this dungeon is probably on the same difficulty as Dungeon 5 as far as optimization goes. So we'll see how this goes for Glan. So he's already got his level 2 bracelet, which is known as it's called the more powerful bracelet in this version. Very creative name.
TGH getting some nice hits there for the first side.
Yeah, if you're able to pull Slime Eel from the exact opposite side of the room, then you can get at least 12 hits in, which is but that of course that requires you to be lucky. If you pull Slime Eel when you're on the same side as him, then it's kind of hard to get in quite a bit of hits. Ooh, that was a very slick strat for Glan there, having to bomb arrowing the anti-fairy and using that explosion to defeat those Wizrobes, as opposed to doing the other strat that some runners would go for. But that strat's it depends on what pattern the anti-fairy gives you when you enter that room in order to make that strat work. Now he's in the tile room, which, not much to say for this. Just kind of have to wait for all the tiles, and then we progress.
Is this the one that has the boss of Facade?
Yes. So first off, oh, okay. So if you enter the room at the right side of the door frame, and then also just precisely move, and then you can actually beat the Smasher to the ball before he gets a chance. But that's really hard. I don't blame Glan for missing that. Very nice Wizard room for Glan right there. Oh, whoa, that was really close. Having the acorn spawn at a spot right there. If he didn't hold if he held his slash just a little bit longer, then he would have picked that up. So now TGH has finally entered the dungeon, whereas unfortunately in his situation, Glan is already halfway through Face Shrine. So he does have quite a bit of work here. Alright, so we're approaching Glan's second tile room. There's 2 tile rooms that you go through in this dungeon. So again, you do have to wait for all the tiles for in order for the key to appear in this room. But after that, we're coming up on Horseheads. And if you know anything about Horseheads, Cemetery, how many tries do you think it's going to take for both Horseheads to stand up for Glan?
Ooh, I'm not the best person to ask for that. Ask Olivia. So they're in chat.
It's 50-50 for both of them to stand up. Which means a 1/4 chance.
Probably twice it's going to take.
Twice, okay, let's see.
Nope.
Oh my god, whoa, first try. That was amazing. How did he do it? Legendary.
I know, right?
Okay, so in this version, Horseheads, there's actual strategy for the Horseheads. As you want to have the Horseheads stand at very specific spots for both of them to stand up. So you'll always get first try Horseheads as long as you throw them correctly.
Our second Dodongo room, by the way.
Yeah, so this is Dongo Snake round 2. This time it's a little bit, you have a bit more narrow room to fight the Dongo Snakes, unfortunately.
I think I like the Dongos looking better in Ocarina of Time, I will say that.
Well, these are Dongo Snakes, to be fair, so I don't know.
It's like, I don't want to eat it, and then I'll eat it.
Yeah, so if you place a bomb a little bit too early, then they will just say no and kind of delay their movement a bit. So for reference, the strategy, what they're doing is they're counting movements of 4 for each Dodongo Snake for them to place a bomb.
TGH also missing out on the quick grab here.
Yeah, again, it's so difficult, so I don't blame either of them for missing it.
I blame you for missing it.
Well, I'm sure they can't hear me, so I don't think they. I don't count as jinxing them.
Oh, we do have a thing here called Commentator's Curse. I do fair warn you on that. If we say something bad's going to happen, there is a slight chance it actually does happen. And so we are evil. We have deemed it the Commentator Curse.
Yeah. Alright, so now we got the Nightmare Key, and now Glan's on his way to Facade, and the strat that Glan's most likely going to go for is pretty difficult. We'll see how this goes.
The back-talking crowd. True, we did jinx him in the Commentator's Curse on the Armos Maze. I did jinx him at TGH with that death. Because we were talking about
missing the first bomb arrow right there. Okay, so what Glan is trying to do here is he's trying to shoot bomb arrow the tiles as they are crossing Facade in order to use the explosion to hit Facade. If you miss any of your hits, this is a really unfortunate situation for Glan here. He has half a heart left. And Facade himself does 1/4 of a heart, which means he can only take one hit from Facade here. This is really bad for Glan. This is not a situation you want to put yourself in. He gets another hit in, but now he has to just place bombs here because he has no room unless he spawns in the very corner. Okay, there we go.
Got that with the bomb arrow.
Yeah, that was very close. So as you can see right here, this is where Glan having the one extra heart container started to pay off for him. But he's foregoing this heart container, which is fine, but that just means he has to just not get hit by one enemy. Which there is one opportunity where he could get hit by one enemy, but I mean we'll see. We'll see if foregoing that last heart container.
Fun thing to note: the Ballad of the Windfish actually will kill Poe's voice instantly.
Yeah, so that's what you saw there for TGH when he killed that Poe's voice very instantly right there. Faster than just throwing bombs or pots at the Poe's voice. TGH not getting a favorable pattern from the Dongo Snakes here. Might have to. But we'll see how this works here. Yeah, not. Oh man, that Dongo Snake's really avoiding him.
Nice backup.
Okay,
backup
there we
there.
go.
So now we have to head up to the mountain.
Okay, so yeah, Glan does get a heart drop right there. Getting bullied though by oh, that was really close. If he got hit by him, he would have died, which wouldn't be that big of a time loss because he would have just spawned right back at the portal. But still, I mean, he has a very comfortable lead right now.
We're getting reminded we might can remember how important arrows are for viewers.
Yeah. So right now, Glan and TGH both have quite very little amount of arrows, and arrows are mainly used to are mainly the way you can skip using. You don't have to wait for the bomb animation to blow up, as well as some other faster strats. And so the less arrows that you have, the more opportunity that you have where you have to opt for some slower strats just to conserve some arrows. Also, at the very end of the game, you want to have at least 10 arrows because that's how many arrows is needed to fight the very last boss of the game.
Okay, let's see how TGH does with Facade now.
Okay, so TGH is placing bombs to conserve some arrows here. Okay, this is looking pretty good so far.
Nice!
Yeah, nice!
Very clean kill.
Saving a very good amount of time over Glan there. So that's kind of the fight that TGH needed to make up a bit of time.
Glan, in the meantime, getting Crocodile Rock.
So this is the Frog Song of Soul. It's a song that revives dead things, which he will be using immediately. And it's a great song. Many people deemed it as worst song, but I strongly disagree.
Oh, I enjoy that song.
Yeah.
Because we have to wake up the chicken here.
So playing the Frog Song of Soul in front of these set of bones here, we're just going to revive a rooster, which both Glan and TGH will need in order to get for basically one reason only. And that is to get the key of Dungeon 7, Eagle Tower.
TGH coming in here with 4 hearts, not the half a heart that we saw on Glan's side.
Yeah, very close on Signpost Maze. Fortunately, with how the drop rate works in this game, Glan was able to get his health back very quickly. Otherwise, that would have been a very scary moment of Signpost Maze for Glan. So in Signpost Maze, the Signpost Maze is you just read a sign, it tells you where the next sign is, and you want to read all the signs in the correct way. If you read the sign the wrong order, then you reset the entire Signpost Maze, which will lose you about a minute. It sucks.
Yeah,
but it's also a very it's also very difficult to optimize because as you see, we have all these Zols like getting in your way too.
This took me forever to find out the correct path for that because I was confused as all hell as a kid.
Yeah, definitely. So Glan passed by it the first time, and he also just passed by it the second time. But that mountain, we call that mountain the Obstacle Cave because there's a trick in the original version that we used to do called Obstacle Skip, which a lot of original Link's Awakening speedrunners like to hype up, but I don't like to hype it up. I'm the minority. I hate that trick.
Olivia pointing out that Worth is a Mario boss.
Oh yeah, it's another cameo here. This is Wart from Super Mario Bros. 2.
It makes me think more of Captain Cruel from Donkey Kong.
K. Rool. Oh.
K. Rool, yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So we have seen the one use of the chicken.
That's right. Otherwise, there is otherwise an infamous trick, very well known as Rooster Skip, which is exactly what it sounds like. You skip using the rooster to get that key, using some very frame-perfect jumps, but, well, since it's glitchless and it doesn't really work in this version, they don't have to worry about that.
No, it was fairly common back in Game Boy and DX versions, but not used here.
Yeah, not at all.
It was also very frame precise.
Yeah, it's a double frame perfect trick, but that's all they need to know about. More on that whenever on the next Link's Awakening Deluxe tournament. But meanwhile, Glan is making his climb to the 7th dungeon now.
Seventh dungeon shows us a fun new, or not necessarily new to Link's Awakening, but a fun change where you have to rotate the dungeon.
Yeah, you can see here the dungeon kind of makes a 180. There's the dungeon. So, if you remember Eagle's Tower casually, this used to be quite a painful dungeon, but if you know the fastest way to this dungeon, then you can... all the painfulness is kind of eliminated, as there's a lot of optional rooms in Eagle Tower when you're just going through this dungeon. So the gimmick behind this dungeon is that it's a 4-floor dungeon, you're trying to make it a 3-floor dungeon. And to make it a 3-floor dungeon, there's this giant metal ball that you see on Glan's screen here. And you're going around this entire floor here to...
Oh, that is cheap! I didn't know you could do that.
Oh yeah, that's the easiest way to deal with that room. It saves the hassle. Anyone remembers that room being somewhat painful, where you have to be very fast. But if you just reset the room, then you have a lot of time to get through that.
That's just mean. I wish I would have known that as a kid, because that was painful. Trying to open that via pulling and then grab the ball and get over there before it closes on me.
Glan looked like, or TGH looked kind of zoned for a little bit there. Was about to climb that ladder again in order to get the Rooster Key again, but thankfully he realized immediately.
Another good old tile room.
Oh yeah, another tile room right here.
With the anti-fairy.
So what Glan's doing right here is saving a little bit of time by getting rid of that last tile early for the room to open up early. So that's 2 pillars down for Glan. Also, that hook shot that TGH did is a shortcut that doesn't work in the original version, that works in this version. It's a really nice shortcut.
3 pillars down, by the way, now for Glan.
So now Glan is going to go all the way around here. He's going to go back to where he first entered, the 2nd floor, and he's going to get the item to dungeon, which is the Mirror Shield, or the level 2 shield from the original version. The Mirror Shield allows you to block more projectiles, and it also reflects projectiles, so you can actually reflect spears that moblins throw at you, which is really cool. But more importantly, that is used to enter the next dungeon after this. And coming up for Glan is the hardest boss in the game. Let's see how this works. Let's see how this goes for him.
Ooh, this is very tiresome. Evil boss.
We're hoping for good RNG here.
Well, TGH's hoping for bad RNG for Glan.
Oh my god, he did it. What a legend.
Oh my.
I can't believe it.
Oh man, this is so amazing. We have a star here. I need more caffeine.
I need more water. I'm dehydrated from all the talking I've been doing for the past hour and 17 minutes.
Hey, by the way, happy 1 hour mark on our restream. And we are in Dungeon 7. Wait, yeah, so I've been a commentator for various Zelda games. My longest solo commentating has been Majora's Mask Randomizer Race that took 3 hours.
Oh dang, must have been a pretty rough seed.
Yeah, it was a Mizu seed. So we have a restreamer named Mizu that seems to generate the most evil seeds. And ouch, that sucks for Glan.
Yeah, I was about to talk about that. So this room is called 3 Oaks, or 3 of a Kind, if you don't know acronyms. But you have to. It's exactly what it sounds like. You have to match those enemies to the same symbol. Otherwise, if you get it wrong, then well, you got to reset that. That's what happened there for Glan. You know what happened there on Glan's end wasn't really his fault, as that one enemy just happened to get in his way.
One thing to note about those guys, though, is they stay. If you do a spin slash and can hit all 3, they will always be on the same suit. But
I actually never knew that.
they stay on the. They start all on the same suit, and so they are on this. But if you screw it up, then their cycles are a little bit off, and you have to be able to pinpoint exactly where it's going to switch to the suit you need.
Yeah. So right here, what you can see here is Glan is actually leaving the dungeon. He will be back to it later, just like Dungeon 4, but this is actually for a different reason. And what you just saw there when he just walked over that pit, if you just jump off the left side of that ledge and you hold down, then you can prevent yourself from falling. Otherwise, if you're just falling straight to the center, then you will fall down there, and you have to make sure to climb back up again.
We are going to go drop off the chicken.
So, the reason Glan is leaving the dungeon right now is because in this bridge that you just crossed, there would be a cutscene with Marin. Marin is captured on the bridge when you beat the dungeon. If you like cutscenes. Yeah, if you save Dungeon 7 after Dungeon 8, then you skip that cutscene completely.
Because cutscenes cost us time. Yes, Olivia was just explaining that whole skip. Because Olivia's awesome.
All right, so this room is, or this area here is mean. Okay, Glan got spared there by the boulders. Sometimes when you're climbing that ladder, the boulders can just knock you out of the ladder, which you can just die for no reason, and it sucks.
Sadly, I did not get to see Olivia's race versus earlier today.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see. Because from what I know, it was actually a very close race.
TGH getting a nice first cycle on the 3 of a Kind.
Yeah, saving a little bit of time for Glan there, and now here we are, Glan fighting the Total Rock. Originally, you can actually just walk right through the Turtle Rock, but well, this version's smart. We actually have to fight the Turtle Rock.
I never knew turtles could extend their neck that far.
Yeah, me either.
Plus, you also have the bird that's refereeing the match, right?
And there we go.
Nice little headache for the turtle as he goes away.
Ooh, TGH looking at the map, the dungeon map. Is he lost in this dungeon? Alright, but yeah, he's going back now. He's leaving the dungeon just like Glan.
I forgot this is the lava dungeon.
Yeah, so this is Turtle Rock, supposedly the last dungeon, but because these guys have not finished Dungeon 4 or Dungeon 7 yet, this is not their last dungeon.
This will be our 6th dungeon.
Yeah.
Olivia, let's sleep.
So normally, this is just like Eagle Tower, this dungeon is another like complicated dungeon in a casual standpoint, because there's just so many rooms and it's like very complicated to go through, but again, they know where to go, so they can just skip all that. All the optional rooms that they don't have to go through. This is like supposed to be like a mini boss gauntlet where like you see almost every mini boss in this dungeon.
But it also tests your ability to fill in the blanks.
Yeah,
because you do have to fill in the tiles here.
Just like this. Alright, let's see TGH's boulder room here. Okay, there we go. Did not get hit a single time by those boulders.
Slight time save.
Yeah, a little bit better luck here. But it's kind of unfortunate for TGH's situation that he's starting to get that the game's starting to work in his favor now rather than earlier. But I
mean, how do we not have Kentucky Fried Chicken after that cave? I'm still curious.
I don't know. I'm not much of a KFC fan.
Neither am I, but I mean, you literally have fried. He literally walked right through fire.
The Rooster's a god. I guess that's the power of the Frog Song of Soul. Maybe you just can't die.
See, as Ori says, Conolent fried chicken. I'm more of a Chick-fil-A person, so...
I've never actually had Chick-fil-A, believe it or not.
I'm here in the south, we have it everywhere. I probably have 4 I can drive to within 15 minutes, depending which direction I go. Nice quick kill for TGH there.
Yeah, that's very good on his end right here. Yeah, so Glan did pick up 2 arrow drops, which he will be needing all those arrows later. Oh, okay, so here's Blano. Kind of having a little bit of trouble here. We'll see how this goes for him.
There you go.
Very nice.
Missed the first punch though.
Yeah. The way he did that is actually very precise. Again, just like Moblin King, you do have to have a pretty precise rhythm on your slashes for Blano, and if you miss one of your slashes, then you have to wait for Blano to do his Tornado Punch again. Which, if you do get hit by his Tornado Punch, he sends you back to the beginning of... I think it's the beginning of the room in this game, but I know in the original version, he takes you back to the very beginning of the dungeon, because great game.
And so here we get the Magic Rod.
Yeah, so now they got the Magic Rod, and now Glan's gonna backtrack to the beginning of the dungeon to go to this room, and fight Hinox again, but because we're really powerful... Hinox takes only 3 dash hits to beat.
Olivia says you use a metronome against Goblin King.
Yeah, and very early on in the game, when they fight Moblin King, I do use a metronome in order to ensure that I have good rhythm in that fight.
Glan saving 1 frame or a couple frames by not letting the platform go all the way to the stairs and just jumping over the lava.
Yeah. You can't move while you're moving what we call the Roomba, and so if you can stop if you can make it to your next place, then you just stop the Roomba whenever you can. And here's Cue Ball round 2. Very nice fight for Glan right there. If you miss any of your arrows, then this fight can go out of hand really quickly. But grabbing the safety fairy right there to ensure that he doesn't die against the boss of this dungeon, Hothead. I mean, you're not likely to die with 3 hearts.
Ooh, nice quick kill there for TGH.
Yeah, that's very nice. But Glan is intending on skipping the heart container of this dungeon, so very smart play on him to grab that fairy.
TGH getting a lot more luck here in the second half, like you said.
Yeah, like I said, it's unfortunate the game's starting to go in his favor now.
Is it almost too little too late?
He is running out of time to catch up to Glan, for sure, but I mean... In Link's Awakening, nothing's over till it's over.
You could always get a trolley nightmare.
That's true.
The good old magic rod to clear out the ice blocks.
Yep. There used to be a strat in the original version called Burless, and that's because if you and that's because if you touch the ice blocks in the original version, you get a text box, but you don't get a text box, so you know, Burless is free. Alright, so here's Hothead, and you just shoot the magic rod at Hothead, and that's really it. And then here's once you get enough hits in on Hothead, now he comes to breaks into the second phase right here, where he just like jumps a lot in the lava, and you just have to shoot the magic rod while he's jumping. And Glan got a really nice fight there. Had a little bit of trouble in the second phase, but you know, didn't go too offhand. And there he goes. That is Dungeon 8 completed for Glan right there. Turtle Rock.
TGH missing the arrow.
The arrow right there. This could be bad. We'll see what happens here.
Missing another arrow.
Another arrow lost right there.
Screwball being a little bit of a pain in the ass. Finally
okay, there it is.
So time to head back to Dungeon 7, right?
Yeah, going back to Dungeon 7 now. They want to do Dungeon 4 last, because if you do complete that dungeon, then the ghost will appear. He's making his way back to the dungeon, and because Glan has already done pretty much all the dungeon, all he has to do is just go straight to the boss. Which, something to know about the room that TGH is in. There's 27 different possibilities to go about with that room, and all of them take the same amount of time. And I think you saw 2 different ways that both Glan and TGH both did it, so...
Has someone actually counted the ways of how to do that? Is that how we know there's 27 different versions?
Yeah.
Were you bored one night or something?
I remember reading up some old notes that says that there's about like 27 different combinations.
Oh, and here I just thought you were bored one evening.
It's around there. I'm not. Yeah.
Here's the good old pain in the ass bird.
Yeah. So this is Evil Eagle, RNG the boss here. So we'll see what there's 5 different attacks that Evil Eagle does. The first hit is always the same, where he always does the middle swoop. He does a low swoop, which you see there on Glan, and then he does a high swoop. And then he can also do a gust attack, which does nothing besides waste time. And then he'll also do a dive, which Glan got a really nice fight right here. TGH having a little bit of trouble on Hothead. He has 1 heart. I can imagine he's probably skipping. He's gonna skip this heart container, which
No,
would
he
make
grabbed it.
Okay, he's gonna grab it in order to gain his health back. So okay, very smart move, because you know with how random Evil Eagle is, you could just die to Evil Eagle. So I'm sure TGH is aware with how far behind he is and doesn't want to be any more further behind than he already is.
So Glan is one boss up on TGH.
Yeah, so making his way down back to dungeon 4. Now, if either of these runners were low enough HP, then they could grab that heart container that Glan just passed by, and that is faster than picking up the that's faster than picking up the heart container from dungeon 7.
So, random question: what is the record for time on Glitchless?
The world record is 1:38:42 by TGH.
Very nice.
Yeah, which I don't think either of these runners are on pace for that. So.
Here's the by the way, the RNG manipulation.
Yeah, so with the normally there's a room where that lets you know what the puzzle is, but with the RNG manipulation, they know exactly what puzzle that they got. And even without RNG manipulation, in this particular room, there's about 4 different puzzles. So you have a 25% chance at getting a puzzle right if you know what all 4 of those puzzles are.
I was going to take a look at your guys' tournament bracket. That's what I was going to do.
Yeah, so this is the winners semifinals, and so the winner of either of these matches or the winner of either of these players are going to go to the finals. It's going to be a pretty big deal. Alright, so here's, you could say the hardest boss, since they pretty much buffed this boss up by significant. I know you mentioned earlier that this boss was like the easiest boss, because
yes,
in the original version,
Anglerfish was the easiest in Link's Awakening.
Yeah, all you do is just go at a certain spot and smash sword, but they got really smart with that. So now what Glan's doing here is he's positioning himself up so that he could do double spin attacks per double hits per spin attack whenever like the anglerfish is going towards him, and that was a really good fight for him right there.
Okay, so the winner of this will move on to waiting for the loser's bracket winner. The loser of this will have a nice break before they race again.
Yeah.
Because you still have to have the Lime Films versus Swordy Meeks who knocked you out of the tournament. And then we have Olivia here in chat, who is awesome and moved on to face EDL 666.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to pick on you about getting knocked out of the tournament.
Oh no. You're fine. You're fine.
Let's see. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Or they have 3 match break. The loser of this has a 3 match break until they go on to race again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't feel that bad for losing, because all of my matchups during my time of the tournament, I was paired up against some pretty tough opponents, so I kind of half expected myself to not get too far.
It was EDL that took you down to the losers bracket, and then you faced Antinio and then Swordy Meeks.
Yeah. All right, but coming up is tradition in basically every Link's Awakening commentaries, where we listen to what we refer to as the national anthem.
I do realize I forgot to switch the music to Glan, so sadly chat did not get the national anthem where we did.
Oh, really? Oh, I was listening to his audio the whole time.
Yeah, we actually have TGH's audio selected.
Oh, okay. Well, you got to hear boss music during the national anthem.
Still good. I mean, we'll get the national anthem here in a second for TGH.
Yeah. But anyway, you may notice that neither of these runners have completed the trade sequence, and you might be wondering how they're going to know the puzzle. Well, thanks to RNG manipulation, they know exactly what their puzzle is. I don't know exactly off the top of my head what a Glan seed is, but he knows his path. But yeah, so with that comes the Nightmare Fight, which you know, there's a lot to talk about in the original version, but because there's less tricks in the Nightmare Fight in this version, it's a little bit more straightforward. There's 5 phases in the Nightmare Fight, and the first phase is the blob phase, where all I have to do is just sprinkle magic powder on the blob 3 times. So we'll see how this goes for Glan. Meanwhile, TGH just finished the Angler Tunnel. Something to note is if you're on the now that they both have finished Angler Tunnel, the ghost will appear if you're on the second half of the map, but they don't have to worry about that.
And blob phase is finished for Glan.
And now come up is Aghanim. If you're familiar with Link to the Past, then you know Aghanim's a very notorious boss. First hit's always an energy shot. Second, every other hit now is a 50% chance between a blue ball or an energy shot. However, in this game, Aghanim cannot do the same attack 3 times in a row, which means if you're super unlucky in this fight, then you can get a maximum of 9 blue balls.
By the way, here is TGH's national anthem. So I left it on there, so our runners. And now we're on to the Moldorm part.
Yeah, so we got Moldorm now. All you have to do is just hit, just spin slash Moldorm. His hitbox is really weird, which is why that's possible for Glan. And now for Ganon, having a little bit of trouble on Ganon, but that's fine. Thankfully, with those extra hearts that Glan picked up did pay off there. All you have to do is just dash into Ganon, and then now we have the Landmola phase. You just spin slash Landmola, and now for the final phase, which is Nightmare. 10 arrows to beat Nightmare. You can only shoot 2 arrows per cycle, and a cycle is whenever Nightmare opens up his eye. However, if you do not have enough arrows, then there is a fortunate side where you can actually use the Magic Rod to shoot Deathel, but it does significantly less damage. But hopefully, he does not run into that situation, as Glan now
and that is time.
Deathel, and I think this is PB for Glan. Actually,
I think this is, yeah. His PB was 140, and we are under that.
Yeah, Glan really played out of his mind in this run. Really crazy. He finishes with a race time of 1:39.49. Very solid run for Glan right there.
GG. Maybe we can get him in for an interview.
Yeah, I'm sure he has a lot to say about that run. Meanwhile, we have TGH going on to the Nightmare Fight himself. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, TGH is not like Glan's not a bad player. Like he's really good. You know, being third place on the leaderboard, which actually, third place on the leaderboard. You know, he's not third place he's third place for a reason. But I will admit this isn't the exact results that I was expecting in this race. But there is so much you could do when you run into situations that TGH has ran into in this run.
By no means does this mean that TGH is out of the tourney. He just will have to have a little more of a fight to come back.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Glan really was able to pull up some upsets. You know, he was able to take out EDL early on in the tournament. You know, who's the current second place holder of this category, and now been able to take down the world record holder. So Glan everyone in this who's still in this tournament, watch out for Glan.
Yeah, we are going to get Glan here and in for an interview in a moment. Let's cheer on TGH as he finishes up Nightmare.
Okay, defeating defeating Aghanim there. Now for Moldorm here.
Whew, that Moldorm 8 is always strong.
Yeah. Oh, that is okay. So yeah, if you mess up the Ganon phase like that, like there's a quick kill for this, and both of them messed up there. And if you mess up, then it goes really bad.
There we go, killing off.
Okay, there we go. He does have half a heart, which isn't that big of a deal, but well, we'll see how Death goes. He does have exactly 10 arrows, so he can't afford to miss an arrow, and he has half a heart.
There's 2.
Okay.
4.
Now it is possible to get a third arrow in, but it has to be very precise. Also, hello, Glan.
Hello.
GG.
How do you feel? You finally got the curse has finally been broken.
The curse is finally broken. My facade curse is not broken. I don't know why that even started, but...
GG to TGH, finishing with a time of 1 hour, 43 minutes, and 20 seconds, by the way.
GG.
So, before you talk about your run, how do you feel being able to pull off 2 upsets in a row?
Yeah, I don't even know.
You don't know?
It just, the work is paying off and it feels good.
Yo, GG, dude. GG's on the PB.
Yo, GG. Thank you.
Yeah, that is a PB, isn't it, Glenn?
Yeah, it is.
First
12
139?
seconds.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice stuff. I mean, it's practically the second, or even third, maybe 139 for you, or like, almost.
I've had so many
Almost.
139 paces just die in this stupidest way.
Yeah, I felt
I don't
so
even
bad
know.
the other day when I saw
You
you
don't
post
know.
a
It just, the
140
work is
flat
paying off and it
0.6 or
feels
something.
good.
Yo,
Yeah.
GG's, dude.
Bruh.
GG's on the PB.
Yo.
Really? But yeah,
Or
GG's.
before that, I had like
Yeah, that is a
140-28 with
PB,
8
isn't
blue
it, Glenn?
balls. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, you deserve
First
it.
139?
Dude, seriously,
nice,
GG's.
nice stuff.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, it's practically the second.
So, thoughts
or
on
even
both
third,
yours,
maybe
from both of you
139
on your
for you, or
runs?
like almost.
I've had
almost.
so many 139
I-
paces just die in this
Where do I
stupidest
begin?
way.
Yeah, I felt so bad when I saw you post.
I
I mean,
140
look.
flat
I'll say
0.6 or
this. I'll
something.
say this. When you
like, bruh,
when you die twice,
really? But yeah,
Or
GG's.
before that, I had,
once
like,
to Slime Mule,
140-28 with 8 blue
I think I
balls.
forgot
Oh,
the
no.
route twice.
Yeah, you deserve it.
Like
Dude,
I just
seriously,
like
GG's.
I didn't do. I mean, those were minor, very minor. Like I went the slow way. Like after D2 to Canalet, like I didn't get the warp, and then I went the slow way to the D4 keyhole. I didn't go up and do the ladder jump because I just both times just because I forgot what I was doing. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, and then I saw you slightly zone when you were like climbing up to the Rooster Cave almost twice.
Yeah, like when you do stuff like that, when your head's not in the game, versus a player like Glan, and especially when Glan is PBing in the meantime, you're winning that race precisely 0 times out of 100. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, and it started pretty early on when you first missed the Yoshi doll, and then from there, like the game just kind of kept bullying you up until maybe the second half of the game.
I mean, that aside, like it was a combination of bad luck and me just playing kind of badly. More so me just kind of playing badly. I'm not going to blame it 100% on luck. Like that's unreasonable.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm gonna blame the commentator's curse for your death on Maze Island. So
yeah, seriously, y'all need to stop that. Anyway, I'm kidding. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, I can't really complain. I mean, I definitely kind of got what I deserved this race, I think.
Sounds like you had a rough time.
What's that?
Sounds like you had a rough time.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, death on Slime Boss and death on Maze Island. At least Maze Island put you only
Slime
like
death is rough.
Yeah, the Armos Maze death was like nothing because you'd spawn right where you died, but
Yeah,
then
it's like 17 seconds or something.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Normal
whatever.
death.
Like that was a weird death because I had no idea what my piece of power count was.
yeah,
After that, because like it could have been like
Oh,
it
yeah.
could have been like one of 4 different things. Luckily, I guessed correctly.
Mhm.
But still, after and then Slime Mule was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm just not coming back in this race at all. Yeah, it's proof that Glitchless has teeth for sure. I was like, I feel like in both of those situations, I was just a little bit off. Like with the Armos, like dying to the Armos, like I think I fired the arrow like a couple frames too early, and it went through him. Proceeded to die, and then Slime Mule, I was just a little bit off, clinked a couple times, and got like juked by the tail. I'll say I tried to jump over the tail. Maybe that was a little bit foolish, but
yeah, it came
it's
back
a
and
very,
slapped you.
very, very precise jump if you're attempting to do that. But sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do.
but yeah, like regardless of how my luck would have been this race, I still would have not caught up with how I was playing. So
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, there was only so much you could have done when Glan was playing out of his mind in this race.
oh yeah, for sure. It's hard to compete with any 139. Like that's probably a given in any certain situation. But yeah, like that's high level play in the tournament for you.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
Glan,
Yes.
what are your thoughts on the race now?
Yeah, so for the first like half, this was by far the best run I've ever had of this game. Like, I was 22 seconds ahead of my best pace ever after D5.
Wow.
I golded D1, D3, and D5.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got really thrown off on Facade, which is frustrating, because
Yeah.
apparently I just forgot how to fight Facade. Like, the last 3 runs I've all done, I've screwed him up really badly. I even practiced before the race, and I still screwed it up.
Yeah, and that was really close. You could have there were like maybe 3 or 4 opportunities that you almost died on Facade, and then
Oh, yeah.
and then maybe a couple opportunities right after that when you're on your way to the Signpost Maze that you could have died when
Mhm.
you were going to the Signpost Maze with half a heart. You did manage to get a heart, but then that one moblin decided to push you down.
Yeah, I don't know if I was just nervous or whatever, but I just like didn't trust myself to dash past the moblin.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't always trust myself to do it, but
That Moblin's
and then I got
ass. I'll just
I got
say
just like generally kind of bullied. Like in D7, I swung at 2 3-of-a-kinds, and then they were different symbols, so I had to reload the room. Like I swung at them at the same time, and then they were 2 different symbols. Because
Yeah.
I did it in like the
I hate that.
whatever tiny frame window you have to do that.
Yeah, it's like 3 frames or something like that you missed off by. But otherwise, that was an amazing run.
Yeah, so with that, Glenn, you're going to be moving on to the finals, and TGH is going to be moving on to the lower bracket semifinals, where you'll be going off against the winner of either Lime Films and versus Sorty Mix, and as well, or the winner of the matchup of EDL versus Olivia. So particularly Glan, what's your thoughts going into the finals?
I mean, I have a pretty good record so far, so hopefully it'll be fine.
I mean, the grind that you've been pushing through has really been paying off for you.
Mhm. Yeah, and I want to keep doing it, especially with like how late game went in this run. There's definitely room to improve still, so
Do you see yourself improving for a better 139?
maybe not with like really as a goal or whatever, but just seeing if I can do it. I don't know how
Okay.
long I want to do the grind for, but I definitely could
Okay.
with the right amount of time.
Well, GG's to both runners. I don't think we have any questions from chat. Any final thoughts?
GG's once again.
Yeah, GG.
To Glan, great run.
Shout out to Machan for coming in and commentating. Machan.
Man.
I butcher names. I have fun butchering names. So
I don't know who that guy is.
thanks for coming in and commentating.
Yeah, no problem.
Sorry that the restream got a little delayed. I just popped on and just no one had signed up, so I got things up and running.
It's fine. Thanks for all y'all do.
Yeah, no problem.
So
And thanks
hopefully,
for commentating as well.
Yeah, no problem.
I have horrible commentating.
And also thanks to Cemetery for the insights, occasional insights. You know, those were pretty awesome. Whenever there were points I ran out of things to talk about.
I try to help. What can I say? So the next race for y'all is either the. Do we have know which race is next for y'all?
Well, I think both of them has to wait a while for their opponent to get their opponents.
I was meaning either the Lime Films versus Sorty Meeks or EDL. Versus
There's Lime versus Meeks is coming up tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Friday.
That should be an interesting race.
Yeah,
because Meeks recently just beat Lime's PB actually, so I'd say they're pretty evenly matched.
Yeah, that's actually that's another great matchup to look forward to later on.
Hopefully we can get someone for commentary for that. Wink, wink, hint, hint. And we can restream that over here on ZSR.
Yeah, definitely.
Otherwise, I'm just going to close this out. Again, thanks for commentating, and great job, runners.
Same. Peace out, folks.